Hi, it's Mia from Spreading Cowgirl Confidence, and I have a special guest today. Hi, Miss Lisa.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Can you tell everyone what do you do and who are you?
Okay, yes. So, as you know, Mia, I currently work as a coach for rodeo queens for the most part. I do train horses as well, specifically barrel horses. But how I got to this point is the fact that I actually was Miss Rodeo America in 2017. And prior to that, I was teaching high school agriculture, and I felt like God just kept opening the doors for me to work outside of a traditional classroom and work as a rodeo queen coach. So I started my own business called Arise, which stands for a Rodeo Queen Insight to Success and Empowerment. And ultimately, that led me to meet you and get to work with you as you begin your rodeo queen journey.
You're the best.
Thank you.
How did you become Miss Rodeo America?
Okay, well, I will explain this process from the start, one, both technically and personally. One, a rodeo queen competition is multifaceted, and will, as you know, right, there are multiple components to a competition. We'll start from the top and kind of work down. In order to be able to compete for the title of Miss Rodeo America, young ladies have to first win their state rodeo queen title. And I did become Miss Rodeo Texas in 2016 and then competed in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Miss Rodeo America competition to be crowned Miss Rodeo America, which is crazy to think about because that's been 10 years ago now. Time flies. You weren't even born yet. But uh, in a rodeo queen competition, there are the components of interview, public speaking, a written exam, a modeling portion, and horsemanship. And throughout all of the competition, appearance and personality of each individual contestant is judged. And that's the technical way to become Miss Rodeo America, if you will. And what that journey looked like for me, though, was I grew up in Northeast Texas on a farm. I grew up riding horses, even though my parents weren't horse people. I think one of the first words I ever said was horse before I ever even said mom or dad. And got my first pony when I was 5. Being in Texas, rodeo is a natural fit when you are involved in the equine world, especially in North Central, Northeast Texas. And eventually started competing in barrel racing and pole bending. And I picked up a rope and roped some. And being a rodeo queen initially was one more thing I could do with my horse when I was a teenager. But I realized soon after that there was so much more to it and that I really love being able to promote and advocate for the Western way of life on a small scale locally, and then ultimately on a national scale as Miss Rodeo America. And it has been a wonderful journey, and it's something that I think develops a ton of interpersonal skills for girls and also intrapersonal skills. And you are doing this now, and multiple other young ladies have experienced this, and I'll continue to encourage young ladies to do this because of that.
It's so great.
Yes, it's fun, huh?
What was the day like? What did you feel the moment they put the crown on your head?
That was a really surreal moment. And I think because this is the 10-year anniversary, if you will, of me being Miss Rodeo Texas and being crowned Miss Rodeo America in December, I've been thinking about it a little bit more. And I look back and all that I've experienced in the last 10 years, and part of me can't believe that was me and that I actually did that. And the other part of me is like, yeah, that was me, and I did do that. But I remember just being so grateful and excited to be in the top 5 because they do announce a top 10 and a top 5 finalists at Miss Rodeo America. And then the top 5 contestants at that time had to answer a final question, answered the final question, and I had peace with my placement. In that moment, I wasn't sure that I had won, but I had peace with being top 5 and still getting to go home and represent the state of Texas. and enjoy the rest of my time as Miss Rodeo Texas, because the Miss Rodeo Texas pageant is held in June of every year. So I was going to still be able to hold that title until June. Lo and behold, they're getting down through the awards and listing the runners up, and they've gotten to first runner up, and they haven't called my name yet. And I realized that I actually did win Miss Rodeo America. And again, it was so surreal, but then also it was the culmination of a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication over the years. And so I felt overwhelmingly grateful for the good Lord above entrusting me with that job for the year. And I still look back so grateful for those experiences.
What made you fall in love with rodeo when you were little?
Horses. I got bit by that horse bug, and I just think they're most magnificent creatures. And now that I'm a grown adult and have lived a lot of adult life, I still have that little horse smitten kid inside of me. And beyond that, once I did get involved, I'm a competitive person by nature. I enjoy competing in the sport. I still compete in barrel racing to this day very regularly. I rope very little at this point. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I train barrel horses, and I just enjoy being around horses. There's something about them, as the Winston Churchill quote says, there's something about the outside of a horse that's good for the inside of a man, and I wholeheartedly believe that. That said, I also deeply respect and appreciate, as a whole, the morals and values of those who are involved in rodeo and the Western way of life, that they're kind and compassionate, yet also able to be strong and tough, if you will, right? As you know, being a cowgirl. And there's so many skills and qualities that people develop being involved in the equine industry in rodeo that I feel like a person can't gain anywhere else. And I just feel like you really can't put a price tag on it. And I love everything about the Western way of life, truly. Initially, it was horses, but I just love this way of life and the sport of rodeo.
Me too. Did you have a favorite horse growing up, and what was his name?
Yeah, I did. I've had a lot of favorite horses over the years, and I don't know if you can have more than one favorite, but my very first pony was a saint. He gave me so much confidence. That's not the norm when it comes to ponies. Most people have heard horror stories about ponies and small children, but my first pony's name was Johnny. He was a strawberry roan Welsh cross type pony. He wasn't quite the size of a Welsh, I don't think. And he was actually blind in both eyes. But he would let me do anything. I could do the play day events on him. I could go trail ride him, get cows up on him. He would pull a cart, and I would take my cart all over the neighborhood where my parents live, where I grew up. All my good friends learned how to ride on him. He was a phenomenal pony. The only thing he couldn't do was jump, because he couldn't see the jumps. But if you could guide him, he would do it. And he was just incredible. And my first real horse was a challenge and definitely tested my confidence and my skill on a horse. But my first pony that I got when I was 5, yeah, he was my favorite childhood horse, my favorite horse, if you will, growing up.
Oh. What's something people don't know about being a rodeo queen?
Oh, I feel like there are a few misconceptions when it comes to being a rodeo queen. And the first is that they think these girls just need to look pretty and sit on a horse, right?
Yeah.
But one thing that I would like to debunk is that rodeo queens have to be extremely knowledgeable, and that as a whole, they have to be really talented horse women. And the skill set it takes to be a rodeo queen is multifaceted. And so there's so much more to it. And I would say, above all, it's really about what's on the inside that makes a person a good rodeo queen, more so than what's on the outside. I mean, we know the appearance is important, right? We need to look the part, look like a cowgirl, and look like we're proud to represent this way of life. But yeah, it's that they're not just a pretty face. They are smart, they're talented, and they're incredible young women.
I love that. What was the hardest part and how did you get through it?
The hardest part of being Miss Rodeo America, you mean?
Yes.
Oof. Honestly, I enjoyed the entire experience because I knew when I signed up kind of what I was signing up for. I make sure that I know what I'm getting into. I guess you could say that has to do with the fact that I have a little bit of a type A personality. I'm a planner, I'm organized, and I knew. But then there are some things you can't really prepare for, which is the lack of sleep, the intense travel schedule, and the fact that you don't see your friends or family. And so I did miss several special events, weddings, anniversaries, because I was in my mid 20s, right? And so, anyway, people are growing up, if you will. They're starting their lives, starting careers, starting families. And there were several things I had to miss during that year. And that was tough. That was tough for sure. But I will say I knew what I was getting into, and it was very much so worth it all in the end. But I wish there was a way to balance both for someone who's in the role of Miss Rodeo America.
Yep. What advice would you give to a junior princess?
The advice I would give, and I don't know if I've given you this advice directly, but I feel like in a roundabout way I have. But to give to any young lady who wants to do this is if it's on your heart and it's on your mind, it's there for a reason. I believe it's really important that we do pursue our passions, that we pursue them wholeheartedly. It takes a lot of hard work to do this, and it's fun. It's so fun, and it should be fun. But have faith in yourself, have faith in God's plan, work hard, and then enjoy the process. When it comes down to the competition itself, you've put in all the work. And so work hard, but then have fun because there's no point in doing any of this if we can't have fun, right?
Yep. That's right. How do you say, how do you stay calm and confident when, how do you stay calm and confident when you're nervous on stage?
That's a tough one. That takes practice. I do think this is a mind over matter situation. I wholeheartedly believe that confidence comes from preparation. So back to what I was saying earlier about working hard. I also want to piggyback off that or kind of circle back to that anyway. I also think it's really important to ask questions because we're never going to have all the answers. So don't be afraid to ask questions. I will say that. And that's a part of the preparation process. And then, of course, once you know what you need to know or begin to know what you need to know, you can work at it. But when it comes to remaining calm under pressure, it is putting yourself out there in situations to be uncomfortable in the preparation process and to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And to, I do believe again that if you prepare and put in the work, you will have confidence knowing that you put in the work. And so work hard ahead of time and then let the chips fall where they may. Back to what I said a second ago about having faith. God's plan is greater than our plan, and we just have to have faith in that. I didn't win Miss Rodeo Texas the first time I competed, even though it felt like it was the right time in my life. Again, I'm a planner and I'm super organized, and I just worked everything out to be able to compete that year, and it didn't work. At that time, I honestly wasn't sure I was going to go back and compete. And I can't necessarily say this answers your question directly about staying calm under pressure, but it does refer to the point that I'm trying to make about having faith. It's just stepping out there and knowing that you've done all you can do. And it's also really important to breathe, breathe, relax, and smile because we definitely feel better about ourselves if we remember to smile and have fun.
What do you think judges are really looking for?
As someone who's been on both sides at this point, I really feel like, one, the judges want to see a girl who came prepared, right? A girl who tried her best. But above all, they want a girl who's genuinely, authentically themselves. Someone who is personable and relatable. And through that, though, is themselves. It's so important to be yourself and embrace that, because you are you and everyone else is already taken. And so you can't try to be like anyone else. You just have to be you.
Yep. What's the most important thing a rodeo princess should know?
Oh, well, we are rodeo, or I say we, I'm no longer a rodeo princess. I'm far too old to be a princess. But there are a lot of things to know. But I will say, I feel like it's important to know yourself from a young age on. And yes, there's a lot to know in terms of horsemanship skills, rodeo knowledge, equine knowledge, your speech that you have to give in the competition. But back to what I was saying earlier about what judges look for is someone who knows or who is truly themselves. So I think it's really important to know yourself, know who you are, know what you bring to the table, and be proud of that.
Okay. What does cowgirl confidence mean to you?
Cowgirl confidence to me initially was found on the back of a horse for me personally, because there was just this confidence that comes from being able to ride and communicate with a magnificent creature such as that. But I feel like this is a multifaceted definition. I don't know that there's one set definition for cowgirl confidence. But I will say that it's someone who, back to knowing you, who is sure of who they are, but yet humble enough to know they don't know everything. Someone who's willing to step back, continue to learn, continue to improve, and someone who's humble and confident is someone who I truly feel like is cowgirl confident.
If you could tell every young cowgirl one thing, what would it be?
I've said a lot in the last 20 minutes or so, but it would be to shoot for the moon. And if you fall short, you'll fall amongst the stars. Dream big, chase those dreams. Don't give up. I mean, metaphorically speaking, when life bucks you off, get back in the saddle and keep going, because that's what cowgirls do.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your great wisdom and knowledge. Can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Sure thing. I have private social media channels and I really only use Facebook, and I'm Lisa Lucia on Facebook, but I do have a website called personalpassioncoaching.com, and that's where you could reach me via the contact form. And we can definitely discuss Rodeo Queen coaching there, or anything you'd like to reach, or discuss, but you can also reach me via Messenger on my private personal Facebook page.
Thank you again. Bye.
You're welcome.
Yeehaw.